watching Dante Boxing Nation.
Yo, what's up, guys? Stack card, Showtime, congratulations. Tank Davis, good luck, all the very best. You have a tough fight ahead of you, but April 15th against Ryan Garcia, we are waiting for you.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So that is what Oscar De La Hoya said only a couple of days leading up to the Davis versus Hector Garcia fight. But just the other night, Oscar De La Hoya put out some of the worst boxing news. He put out this tweet and he said, "I have no contract. Deadline for me is Monday or I'm moving on." That obviously led the boxing world to believe that this fight is not going to happen, and it's the biggest fight in the sport of boxing today. Matter of fact, believe it or not, when they were doing polls, I'm talking about maybe a year ago, asking what fights the fans want to see the most. And Davis versus Garcia, Ryan Garcia, got the most votes. And these were big polls. It wasn't just some small poll with like 1,000 votes. And those were polls that included Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. So it wasn't that long ago. It was what, like a month before the Hector Garcia fight, that both Ryan Garcia and Gervonta came out, both announcing that they have reached a deal. They have both agreed to all of the terms, and it's all but official. Just to hear Oscar De La Hoya say that he's moving away from this fight, and the fight is pretty much off as of today. Now, Showtime and PBC's Stephen Espinosa, he actually responded to what Oscar De La Hoya said, and man, he had some really interesting things to say, some really informative stuff that I didn't even know about. He revealed that in a lot of these fights, the contract is actually not even signed to a week before the fight. The actual fight. He said the contract for Gervonta Davis versus Hector Garcia, it was signed 24 hours before the fight. That is amazing to me. And then when Espinosa was asked, why is it that fights are usually signed only a week before the fight? This is what Stephen Espinosa said to Fight Hub.
Okay, so we got, obviously, there was an understanding in place and we got into this, but we're coming off of Christmas and New Year's, and legal departments are closed and people are traveling. So this contract didn't get done until this week. So it's not that unusual. It's not that unusual for Oscar's own fights.
Now, even though I personally believe that is a terrible idea to be signing contracts the week of or even 24 hours before a fight, and I'm going to explain why later on in this video, but if this is a common practice in the sport of boxing, then Oscar De La Hoya, he knows this as well. In fact, you heard Stephen Espinosa say it's not unusual for Golden Boy to sign contracts like a week before the fight. So if that is the case, why would Oscar De La Hoya be on Twitter giving them a 24-hour deadline? It's not adding up at all. Let's get back to what Stephen Espinosa said in response to Golden Boy.
So, but there's generally something. So, yes, is there what you would call a formal signed contract? No. Is there a very detailed exchange of terms, which everyone said, I'm in agreement, I'm in agreement, I'm in agreement? Yes, there's that. And did everyone review, the announcement that a deal is made and agree before it went out? Absolutely. Like that, no deal would have been announced by the fighters had everyone not have signed off. So the reality is, it's a little bit puzzling. It's a little bit mysterious why you would say, sure, Ryan, go ahead and tell everybody you have a deal, and then 2 days later come out and say, well, there's not really a deal. So I'm not sure what the agenda is. I don't know if it's cold feet. Maybe you are getting buyer's remorse over the deal you made. But on the day that they announced it, that the fighters announced that they had a deal, everyone was in agreement. DAZN, Golden Boy, Showtime, PBC, everybody was comfortable with the fighters saying we have a deal. So why a couple days later it changed, it's a mystery to me.
Okay, so did you guys hear the part when Stephen Espinosa, he said maybe they're getting cold feet. Maybe it's buyer's remorse, or they're feeling buyer's remorse from the deal they made. This is exactly why it's a bad idea to have contracts signed 24 hours before a fight or a week before the fight. The whole purpose of a contract is to force someone to commit, to outline the obligations each party owes to the other. You wouldn't have had to worry about them getting cold feet or having buyer's remorse if they would have already signed the contract, because they would already be obligated to take the fight. And if they pull out then you have a lawsuit. This is why rematch clauses are so effective in the sport of boxing. We've seen this in the case of Lennox Lewis versus Hasim Rahman. Hakeem Rockman did not want to take the rematch, but he had to take it because he had already signed a rematch clause, a contract. Same thing with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury did not want the third fight with Wilder, but he was forced to take it because of the contract he signed. Now, just imagine if Hakeem Rockman and Tyson Fury, they didn't sign the contract for the rematch clause, and they said, you know what, we agreed to all terms. Just take my word for it. I'll sign the contract after we have our first fight, right? I'll sign the contract for the rematch clause. You think they'll end up getting the rematch in that situation? Of course not. Because even when Tyson Fury and Hakeem Rockman signed the contract, they still were trying to get out of the fight, but they just couldn't legally. This is what contracts are for. This makes zero sense to me, this practice. I mean, what if you've already invested into the promotion of the fight? You've already reserved an arena where you have to spend money. You've already done all of these things, but 3 weeks before the fight, the opponent gets cold feet, or the whole opponent's team, they get buyer's remorse. Why? Because they didn't sign the contract, and they didn't have to sign the contract. All they had to do was just say, okay, I agree, right? Pinky promise. Only in the sport of boxing would you hear something like this. It's like boxing is still in the Stone Age. If sports was a NASCAR race, every other sport would be driving a brand new car. They would be racing in a brand new car, while boxing is the only one there with an old beat up car that keeps breaking down, always behind the other sports. In every other sport, you always get to see the best versus the best. This is in every sport. It is only in boxing where we only get to see, if we're lucky, 20% of the best fighting the best. 20% of the fights that all the fans want to see. Something's definitely got to change in the sport of boxing because this sport could be so much bigger. With that being said, I'm going to wrap this video up. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one. All right, now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes, the fever blisters, diabetic ulcers, this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called LO Key Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to LODkey.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram. Let me tell you guys about Issa Israel Law Firm. It is a full-service legal practice based in Denver, Colorado, an emerging hub for combat sports and high-altitude training. If you're a fighter inside or outside of the ring and you need a law firm you can trust to fight for you, visit thefighterfirm.com or email help@iilawfirm.com. Legal representation is usually limited to plaintiffs and defendants in Colorado, but iFirm can help anyone in the world with trademarking their business name, logos, and U.S. immigration issues. This brother has been my attorney for a while and helped guide me through all kinds of business and civil issues, so make sure you guys go to thefighterfirm.com.